Welcome to the Fastest Podcast channel. So today we actually have a very special guest with us today, Formula 4 driver Zakariya Mohammed. Zakariya, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So you're coming fresh out of the Indian Formula 4 season, round two.
Yes, just
Yeah.
arrived
So
home just last week. So,
so how was that experience?
um, it was a lot of ups and downs in that round. I think we showed pretty good pace. Not where I want to be. I know I can do better than that, but it is what it is. That's racing. Uh, yeah, it's tough, but we move forward. We'll look forward to what's next. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll see what happens.
So Zakariya, you're from Melbourne, right?
Yes.
So Melbourne, I think you have a pretty positive motorsport culture there and kind of vibrant over there, especially the F1 race happening right there in the city.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of, so how exactly did you get into the motorsport culture and how exactly did you get involved into start with the culture?
So it all goes back to when I was a little kid. Um, you can ask my mom, my dad, you can ask any of my family what my first word was. It was car. I was just repeating car, car, car all over again. I loved cars. Anything with wheels, four wheels, engines. I was obsessed with it. And I guess I really got my first exposure to racing when my dad took me to the Grand Prix in Melbourne. And back then, there was not many people at the Grand Prix like there is now. And kids used to go in free, and it used to be a really nice experience. Used to see all the drivers, used to meet people on the pit wall. It was a very different time, and I think that's kind of when I developed my love for racing, in particular Formula racing. Um, yeah, so from then it kind of developed into watching all the races with my dad on TV, and I remember specifically it was either 2011 or 2012 Grand Prix. It was my birthday weekend. We went to Melbourne Grand Prix, and actually Kimi Raikkonen's engineer gave his umbrella to me after the race on the pit wall. And it was it was a massive driver umbrella, and we still have it today. But yeah, it's all these little things that just made like racing really special to me, and that's kind of how I got into it. But then over the next few years, we kind of moved away from that. My family, we didn't really have any roots to motorsport, any ties to motorsport. No mechanical background. My father, he's a small business owner. He's a chef, and my mum is a nurse. And my uncles, aunties, grandparents, all my relatives, no one really has that. Like working in like a mechanical field. My family's very medical oriented, so it was tough trying to break into this world. It's as a driver, it's quite an exclusive place to be, and it's very hard to be here to get into it. And if I told my parents when I was a child I want to be a race car driver, a lot of people would be like, okay, let's look into getting you a go kart. My parents probably wouldn't even know what a go kart was when I was 5 or 6 years old. So then, we kind of just moved away from that world. I was still loved cars, loved racing, watching all the races, but that's when I started playing football or soccer in Australia, and I carried that forward for most of my life till I played it very competitively. I took it seriously. It was a big passion of mine. I'm still passionate about football. You can see up there, I got some trophies. But yeah, ultimately, this passion took over again. And when I was around 14, I was like, look, I was doing all my own research now. I knew how did these guys get into racing? They get go karts. I begged my mom for for a whole year. I begged my mom to let me get a go kart. At first, she said it's too dangerous, but eventually she gave in. That's when I got my first go kart at 14. And then I took it to the track a few times. My mom used to take me. My dad was always busy at work, and my mom used to take me to the track just for practicing. And then one day my brakes failed on that old secondhand go kart. I smashed it to a wall at 80 k's an hour, and chassis was gone. So
Were you all right
then,
after that?
It's a sore wrist.
Okay.
More hurt ego and hurt feelings that I lost my precious go kart. But yes, then I had to go back into my savings, and I've been saving a lot since I was a childhood up until this point. So I bought a brand new engine, I bought a new chassis, and everything was going well. Everything was amazing. I got my brand new go kart. Everything's gonna be fine. And then COVID hits. 2020. I remember maybe I was 15 or 16 years old, and just like that, everything was gone. No more school, no more soccer, football, no more racing. It was all just on hold. And me being from Melbourne, it was a really hard time because this was probably the worst lockdown, the strictest lockdown in the worldwide. We couldn't even leave 5 kilometers past our home. It was a 5 kilometer radius you're not allowed to leave, and if you do leave, it's you're not allowed to be out for more than 30 minutes. So racing was just like not possible, absolutely impossible. I mean, my local track was like an hour drive away, so
Mm.
that was obviously not on the cards to do anymore. I couldn't play soccer, I couldn't play football, I couldn't do anything. It was just school at home, and that was life for 2 years. And by the time we came out of it on the other side, it was like it was a distant memory. Just karting was just a distant memory, and I'm coming into my final year of school at this point, and all like the stress of family and having to perform well in school and keeping up with my studies. Um, so then it just went all into my schoolwork from there in year 12, and then graduated with pretty good marks and got admission with university. Currently studying mechanical engineering. I'm in my third year, and even in first year of my uni was just getting used to this completely different new lifestyle where everything's different from school. You're a lot more independent in life, and you have to learn a lot of things by yourself, figure things out. And it was a very hard time to kind of adjust from previous years, especially coming out of 2 years of lockdown where there wasn't much like personal growth or progression in that time. So it was tough, and racing just became a distant memory at that point. And even like every now and then, we'd like I would want to go karting, but it was just, oh, I don't have time. I have an exam next week, or I have an assignment due this Friday, or there was always something happening that was just holding me back from moving forward in that. And I guess that dream kind of fizzled out a bit, but that drive never left me. That love for motorsport, that love for racing, that need for speed, it just never left. And in my second year of university, that's kind of when this realization hit me where, like, if you want this, you're just running out of time. It's not going to happen. It's not like any other sport in the world. This is probably the hardest sport to become competitive and go into seriously. And I remember one night I was just on my computer, and I was literally doing an assignment, and I just ended up putting my head in my hands like this. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what work is in front of me. I don't understand what I'm reading. I don't understand my lectures. I want to race. What's going on? And my mom came to me and she said, look, what do you want to do? Because this is serious now. I'm like 19 years old at this point. I'm 19 years old, and it's like you need to make a decision with what you want to do. This is you're not like a 15-year-old kid like many other F4 drivers are. You need to start taking these decisions seriously with what you want to do. And if it's something that's very hard, getting into F4 is very hard because that breakthrough cost is so expensive. And with me not having that motorsport karting background where I wasn't able to build a name for myself, I wasn't able to really, get my name out there as who I am and what I do. and no one's going to back that, like sponsor wise. If you want to make it to F4, um, sponsors don't want some random university student who has no karting experience, no championships, no this glam in the background in his past. So this is when I started doing research into, really deep research in how I can be in a race car. That's when I landed across the Formula Global Shootout program.
So one second. So before we come to that, so I actually want to go back to when you started. So you said you started at the age of 15,
Mm.
racing
Yep.
kart with go karts, right?
Yep.
So usually in children they start before the age of 10 and they kind of like get into it back then at that time. So but you started a bit more later,
Mm.
and until then you were like playing football a bit more on the professional side, right? So like how was that transition from like football to motorsports at the age of 15 and kind of like just going competing with against all these kids who have been racing since they were 10 years old or lesser. So was that
Yeah,
like a
it's definitely a reality check the first time you step in a real race car. I think a lot of people will agree that before they sit in a race car, they think it's just like a rental go kart. And then the moment they sit in that seat and they push the throttle, you're just in a completely different world. And you realize, wow, this is extremely hard, it's extremely competitive. And you're starting 6, 7 years behind others. Even I still feel it to this day in F4. When my competition is usually a lot younger than me, or 1 or 2 years younger than me, and they've been karting since 6, 7, 8 years old, and it's really evident in certain conditions in racing where that experience you're able to really see it, like in wet weather conditions. It's That's when you see where that experience comes through. But for me, my transition from football was, I mean, nothing really. There's nothing from football that really helped me in racing. One's using my legs, the other one's steering with my arms. So I think maybe just I felt my reactions were good, and I was quite agile in terms of physical abilities that passed over. But the transition, it was very hard because it's just a completely different dynamic. It's a different world, different sport, different everything really.
so before you started karting, like were you like doing any sim racing or things like that to kind of like get familiar with motorsports or something like that? Any sort of gaming, or did I come later?
That came later. I didn't.
So you
I
had
didn't
no
have a
experience with
simulator.
driving go
Nothing.
karts or even gaming. You just straight on went to the go kart and just started driving
Yeah.
at the age
Or
of
maybe
15.
just with a gamepad, but that doesn't really count.
How long did it take for you to kind of adjust to the pace and everything?
I'd say it took me a few months to really
Okay.
get up to it. I had a bit of coaching as well, but even then, it was mostly something I had to do on my own, catch up to the pace. Um, but yeah, I didn't really have a sim back then to help me get up to pace. I didn't have any like racing friends, people who I can go at the track and say, oh look, can you help me figure this out, or help me do that. It was all on my own. My parents, they wouldn't know how to help me get faster. I think my mum doesn't even know which way I'm driving on the track sometimes. So, and she just, she's just there to support me. But everything I had to figure out on my own. I had to figure out how to drive. Even when we used to go to the go kart track, I had to do everything by myself on the mechanical side. I had to learn how to make my own setups. Even basic things, changing tires, changing sprockets, chains, changing spare parts, cleaning, even to the last detail. It was all me. I was organizing, fixing. I was a mechanic, engineer, and driver all in one. And it was just I just remember sleepless nights as watching YouTube videos and learning how to do things on my own. And it was very hard because it was also like you don't have any friends, and when you go to a new place and a new sport and you see a lot of people like know each other hanging around, and you just feel like you kind of like missed out by not being here a bit earlier, and you're just figuring things out on your own. But yeah, I think it was a good experience for me to go through that by myself. I think it's a lot of the reason why I am the way I am today and how I was able to achieve what I've achieved without um, all that motorsport background behind me.
Right. So coming to that, so after COVID, you're back again. So did you start go karting again? Did you go straight to open wheel racing?
So after COVID was, as I explained before, I was in school now. I
Wait,
was getting
one second.
serious.
During COVID, did you have the sim racing or to practice or
No,
no?
no. I
Okay.
had tell you what I had. I had F1 22 or 21,
Huh.
and I was just playing it with a controller.
Joystick.
Yeah, just with my friends for fun. I'd also Trackmania with a keyboard. Yeah, that was probably not the most ideal sim.
So how was it coming back to racing after that?
So it was tough. Like I said, I needed to. Go karting was hard to come by. Like it was hard to find time for it. Hard to find opportunities to go to the track for racing, or even just for practice on any weekend. It was just something that was very hard for us because um, someone had to drive me. Just, I needed one of my parents to be free to take me, but my dad's very busy. My parents are very busy. I'm also very busy now with my work, and it's very hard work what I do in university in engineering. So I think when I was trying to find my way into racing, I think I realized that there's not enough time to just keep karting. It's not going to be beneficial for me. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not young. It's not something that I have time or money to invest in that will lead me somewhere because it wouldn't be enough experience. It wouldn't be enough. I wouldn't have enough years left to put into karting to make it somewhere. That's kind of when I started looking into just like, look, let me just see what I can do in a race car and how can I show what I can do in a race car and be able to move forward into a proper race seat. And this is when I was looking into scholarship programs to try and make my way into a race car. So when I was looking into many different programs. I was looking into feed racing, which offers a scholarship for French F4. I was looking into, of course, the Indian F4 shootout program, which would give a scholarship in Indian F4. There was some other scholarship programs in GT Italia, in Ferrari cars. So it was just I was just narrowing it down, and I ended up applying and being accepted for the Indian F4 shootout. And even when I was accepted for that, I was mind blown. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm going to be going to France to drive an F4 car and compete for a scholarship. And I'm looking at the list of drivers on my phone who are doing it. I was like, go karter, go karter, go karter, go karter, test F4, test F4, did the Ferrari Driver Academy shootout. And I was like, oh, this is who I'm up against. And so it was when we went to France for the shootout. It was first of all, it was a surreal experience. I remember the first time I walked through the doors and you're just greeted with this massive garage full of F1 cars, F4 cars, and it was just like you couldn't even believe you're there. Like you couldn't even believe that you're about to sit in this thing and you're gonna drive it. That
I mean,
feeling was
yeah,
just like,
I can definitely vouch for that. Like seeing it on TV is one thing, looking at it in
yeah,
person and watching the cars go by,
mhm,
it's completely different. I can only imagine what it's like to drive one car.
yeah. in that moment, I was just like, I was just in a state of shock because it's something when you're in that environment is just something you never really expect yourself to find yourself in when you live in my shoes, how I grew up. And I was like, this is it. I have 3 days now to prove that I can drive like these guys can drive, that I can do this. So the first day of the shootout was like physical testing and also simulator work. And the other guys were on a simulator. I was like, I was on a simulator. I had some spins, some off tracks. I was like, it's not very good. But I guess the football did help me greatly in the physicals, especially in the sprints and um, sprint testing and the running. Because I definitely beat a lot of people. I think I beat everyone in that section of the fitness assessment, and I have my football coaches to thank for that because I definitely wouldn't have been able to set those insane times in running without that. But yeah, and then on the final day of the shootout was the actual driving competition, and it was set out like a like F1 qualifying style
Okay.
where you'd have all the drivers and then they'll go out for do a few laps and then four drivers will be eliminated and then the rest will go through and then more drivers will be eliminated and then the rest will go through. So it was very, very stressful because you wouldn't know anyone else's lap times. You'd come in, you'd be waiting for them to make the announcement, like, please let me go through.
So every time you step
uh,
in the car, just like don't be in the bottom four.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was like, and it was set up that so you would do 2 laps and they'd be averaged. So you had to make sure both your laps were good. And then I made it through the first round. I made it through the second round, and I'm in the final four. And by this point, I've beaten like someone who's done like extensive karting and lots of F4 testing in the UK. And I'm just like, wow, I wasn't even expecting that myself. But managed to do that, and then top four was against other really experienced high level drivers from across the world. And unfortunately, I didn't manage to win, but I did come third in the shootout. And that gave me a scholarship to race in F4. And that feeling was just insane. It's like someone like me just coming from where I come from to be racing in FIA F4. It is
So,
just, I couldn't believe it.
so you didn't just compete in the shootout program. You actually got the scholarship after and
Yeah,
got into Indian
yeah,
F4.
yeah. I
And that was like,
actually,
and was it the first time you drove an F4 car, or?
yes, it was the first time I drove an F4 car, and it was just, you just get in and you just have to go for it. You just there's your last opportunity. A lot of the way I saw it was, a lot of the other guys were like younger. They get their opportunity another time. Me, this is my last chance. I gotta send it. So I did my best I could, and P3 was nice. P1 would have been nicer, but P3 was nice. To come away from that with a scholarship was really rewarding. And then later that last year, that's when I made my debut in Indian F4, and I raced the full season. And yeah, that's how I got into Formula
So,
racing in the first place.
so karting suddenly F4, and you're already quick in the F4 car. So,
Yeah.
like starting from the Indian F4, like how was the, how do I say? Like for example, did you have any like warm up routines or anything to do before the race to kind of like
I didn't know. I remember I
you are
walked up to
completely
round
new to the
one.
setting?
I got up to round one, and you have Hugh Barter, an FIA Formula 3 driver there, and everyone just like their warm ups, their routines, and then this is in the preseason testing, and I was just watching them all, and it's like, wow, I'm gonna be racing against these guys in like 3 days time. And I remember my first time in the Gen 2 car, so the new F4 car that we raced last year, and getting used to that new car, and I remember in the preseason test, I actually had my first crash, and that was like a real eye opener to what we were doing because I came out of the car. I remember after my first crash, I was crying a lot because I was in my mind. All I was thinking was, "Oh my god, my parents got me here, and my parents are gonna have to pay for this. How much is this gonna cost? You know, this is a lot of money. We can't afford this." And when I heard the damage bill from that crash, not even in a racing, in a preseason test, and I was just so disheartened. And it's really, really strange to get used to that new feeling of um, just like failure in racing when you make a mistake, because that's part of it. But it's something that apart from my brake failure in a go kart, it was not something I really understood that well from my past. Um, and then, so the race weekend went by, and I expected not to be like the quickest guy on track, which it was true. I wasn't the quickest guy on track. It was still a big learning phase for me, not just in driving, but in
That was your
racing wheel
first
to
race
wheel with
weekend in
other
F4.
people. Yeah, just
Oh.
racing with other people was just something that really have to get used to. The spatial awareness, because in those cars you can't see
Like,
anything really. He's got
like
two
even in the
tiny little
shootout, you
mirrors.
didn't. Even in the shootout, you didn't go racing. We just did
Yeah,
quali
just
laps,
yeah, just
and
quality
then now
laps.
you're in F4 racing against other guys, going
Yeah,
wheel to wheel.
yeah,
So it's kind of.
it was scary actually.
So
Like,
how was that adjustment period over there?
it was
Because
hard
before you were the
because
before this, the only racing you did was in go karts, and that's like a much smaller vehicle compared to the Formula 4 cars.
yeah,
So
and this the speed
that adjustment
difference
would have
is
been, yeah.
big. The you know going to wheel. So if you have a little snap and then suddenly you have a crash, and then it's a very intense environment to be in, and that intensity was something that I never experienced in my life. Um, but even then, getting used to wheel wasn't my issue. It was getting used to being able to set those laps consistently, lap after lap in a race setting, where being able to be on the pace was probably the hardest thing for me. In my first weekend, I can't even remember how many times I spun off, just trying to really push myself to be up there. And it took me 3 rounds before I even scored points in that series.
Coming to Formula 4, so I have a lot of motorsport fans. They come to tell me Formula One's high pressure and like all that. But I feel that Junior category in Formula Junior categories, those drivers have much more pressure than Formula One drivers. If you ask me,
Hmm.
like, is that something you agree with?
Something I think it's similar. I think because it's all based on the same feeling of F1 drivers are fighting to stay in F1, and all of us drivers are fighting to be in F1. So that pressure is always the same. That pressure to perform, and it's just such a high pressure environment. Coming from football where it was a team sport, everything's on the team. If you lose, you concede a goal. It was a team fault. It was a team effort. And coming into Formula racing where it's everything is on you. If you make a mistake, it's on you. If you don't win, it's on you. So it's extremely high pressure. You're in a very physically testing environment as well. Driving these cars is not easy at all. It's very hard on your neck, on your arms. It's hard on your core. It's hard on your body. And being able to thrive in that environment is very hard. And yes, I guess you could say the pressure is intense in these cars, especially in India when it was 35, 40-degree heat on the race day, and it was, you can feel everything. You can feel all the
Yeah,
pressure. You just have to soak it up.
India's a hot country,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
Chennai, where you
Chennai, yeah,
coming to
very
that. So
humid.
last year you were, I think, Indian F4 was one of the few leagues, junior categories in open wheel racing that actually went to a street race, right? So you
Yes.
participated in the Madras street circuit.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how was that experience? Kind of like a night race and street circuit.
That was actually, like, I say a lot of this stuff like, oh, driving an F4 car is surreal, racing an F4 is surreal, but this was like proper surreal. I could not um even fathom racing on that circuit. And it wasn't just a street race; it was a street night race.
Right.
So it was, you'd be in the car and you'd be driving and you'd have hundreds of lights, floodlights just beaming down on you from above, and they're all just flashing past. Everything is a blur, and you're enclosed by not by curbs, not by runoff areas. You're enclosed by two concrete walls on your sides, and getting right up close to them on the apex, on the exits. It was just incredible feeling. I remember I remember watching one of my onboards back, and I saw how close I got to one of the walls. And I didn't even realize at the time, but
You didn't realize it while driving the car.
I watched it back. I was, I swear I phased through the wall is how close I got to it. It was just like, I was like, oh my God. I can't believe I even got that close to the wall at like 100 kilometers an hour on a corner. It's just like, can't even believe something like that. Just insane experience driving there. It was very tough. Um, of course, very bumpy on Indian streets, and yeah,
So,
just yeah.
so coming back to Formula 4 and kind of like how the typical race weekends go for you. So, how does that happen for you? So, in F4, I think you had practice test sessions even on Thursdays,
Hmm.
and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you have the qualifying and race,
Yeah. So
right?
basically, so yeah, they'll do collective testing on Thursday. So that's what all the cars will be testing for 2 or 3 hours. Actually, I didn't do any Thursday testing this year because I couldn't afford
Okay.
it. So I was just skipping Thursday tests. Most of the other drivers are doing Thursday tests, but um, yeah, I was skipping Thursdays. Then there'll be also another 1 or 2 hours on Friday practice. This is what I was doing this, and then Saturday was when the official race weekend would start.
Hmm.
So a lot of the different F4 series have different formats or different number of races or different rules for qualifying. But in Indian F4, you would get 25 minutes official practice on Saturday morning, and then there would be two 10-minute qualifying sessions after that. But we'd have three races in the weekend. So in Indian F4, there was qualifying one was at the grid for race one, qualifying two was at the grid for race three, and the grid for race two would be a reverse grid from the results of race
The
one.
race.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
then
kind of similar to the old Formula 2.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
So
got it.
we would, we'll do qualifying, and then we'd do race one on Saturday, and then on Sunday we would do races two and race three.
Okay. So tell me about that, like going into the race weekend. So you'll have to start, like, how's the training for you? Like fitness training, even mental training, mental preparation for the weekend and things like that. So was that something? So you're not alone in your this thing. So you had your mechanics engineers kind of like guiding you through, taking you through all the processes as well. So can I talk about how the training was and everything?
Um, Training's intense. I do go to the gym almost every other day when I'm home, when I'm not at the track, and doing a lot of shoulder strengthening and a lot of core exercises and a lot of neck exercises. It's very brutal on your neck when you're going through these corners at high speed. And then I'm also doing a lot of cardio to get my blood pumping while I drive, so not get tired. But yeah, it's a very specialized set of training. Sometimes I feel weird in the gym when people look at the things I do and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's not
like,
what everyone does. Like neck training is
"Yeah,
not something an average
yeah,
gym goer
yeah,
will focus on. They'll be
Yeah,
focusing more on
they'll look
arms,
at you. They'll
legs,
be
core.
like, what is that guy doing?" So don't mind me. I'm just training for Formula 4 racing. So yeah, it's always preparation. And now I have my simulator, and
Okay.
I'll be racing every day on a simulator. Making sure keep sharp. Just
So what about
um,
like mental prep ahead of the race weekend?
mental prep.
So I think while starting, you
Um,
had a bit of you didn't know what exactly to do because it was like a first Formula 4
yeah,
race weekend, and like all
yeah.
of the drivers were more experienced and they knew had a routine that they could follow.
Mm.
But you were kind of new. So now do you have like a routine or something? Now that you've been
Like a
racing
like a
for one
pre-race
year,
routine.
yeah, like a pre-race routine.
Usually, well, hmm,
Like how do you focus your mind to like focusing on every single
hmm.
corner? Like you're pushing the car to the limit in every single corner.
Yeah,
So maybe you have a method to
a
create that focus.
few. Yeah, maybe in the days leading up to the race, I'll really focus on watching old onboards or really like closing my eyes and picturing how I'd like to drive, how I'd like to take the lap. But usually like in the build lead up to the actual race practice, I'll always be focusing and making sure I'm getting faster, pushing the car as hard as I can to try and find that time to prepare for quali and racing. But actually, before actual races, I like to just zone out. I don't like to think about it at all because thinking about it is more stress. You're just adding this, you're building the stress up more and more and more, hyping yourself up, and then then it all just collapses. I like to just relax. I don't want to think about it. Sometimes I even try to have naps in between races where,
Just cancel out all noise.
yeah, I'll go into the dressing room, shut the door, and just lie down and sleep and just recover some energy. Relax a bit, let all the just forget about all the stress, forget about all the racing for a second, and just focus on nothing. Just focus
Next
on nothing. Just relax.
next time I see you on track, I'll make sure not to bother you before the race.
Yeah.
I'll leave you
So
alone.
I just like to do as little as possible. I'll do all my warm ups, of course, my stretches, my skipping. But just in terms of like proper mental prep, a lot of people. I think it's different from driver to driver, but personally for me, I really like to just relax.
Okay.
There's plenty of time to psych yourself up when you get into the car to go to the grid, formation lap, sitting on the grid for 10 minutes. It's a lot of time to be thinking about what you're going to do. And thinking more about it is not necessary. It's just more stress. So I like to just relax. That's how I like to do it.
So going back to the pressure of Formula 4 and things like that. So I actually want to talk to you about the cost because that's also an aspect that most Formula 4 drivers have to worry about.
Hmm.
Because it's not like other sports where it's not that expensive. For example, training in basketball or football or sports like that, it's
Hmm.
not that expensive and participating in tournaments as well. But motorsport is not the same because you're actually paying a team to kind of like support you throughout the weekend and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you talk to me about the costs involved? It can be just a rough approximate estimate. So like karting, for example, you have to buy your own cart, but you are doing everything by yourself. Starting
Hmm.
from there, can you just give me a bit rough idea about the cost and everything?
So karting was just baseline costs you need to buy. It depends on how you do it. If you're gonna use a trailer to transport your car yourself, or if you're gonna leave your cart at a storage facility that would transport it for you. But ultimately, you'd have the baseline cost as the cost of your cart, your gear, trailer if you need it, and then that would in Australian dollars for brand new a go kart will cost maybe around $12,000, and then a trailer would be another, depending on how what you get, another $2,000 to $6,000 for this. And then you have your ongoing costs of your tires, consumables, fuel, oil, chains, and then you have to account for crash damage. And you'd be looking at spending in your first year of karting maybe at least 20 to 30,000 Australian dollars, which is very hard, and it only goes up from there. Um, you look at how much people are paying for the World Karting Championships, and it'll blow your mind because there's F4 prices for go karting, and then it continues going up. Even so, we're in F4 now. In F4, like the costs, we're looking at around like for European championships, like at least 2 to 300,000 euros for lower teams, and higher teams the prices goes up. So it's very hard. And then you want to move up to Formula Regional. Now we're looking at seven figures almost. And looking at F3 is easily in seven figures. And F2 is almost reaching eight figures in F2. I think it
Right.
is reaching eight figures in euros. So, of course, the cost is extremely, extremely difficult. People like me have to rely on scholarship programs to try and make it into F4.
So this is actually kind of one of the reasons I said that pressure in junior Formula category is much higher than in Formula One, because
Mm.
kind of like it's more like you guys are investing all this money on yourselves, and and you can't afford to get that to lose out on performance. So you need to
Yeah,
extract everything. You need to extract every single pace from the car as in every race weekend.
yeah, it's so difficult because even still me, but I know a lot of you know these guys are just kids, 15,
Hmm.
16, 17. I'm also young. Like I wouldn't count myself as an older guy. I'm 20 years old, and our parents collectively as racing drivers, we all know how hard our parents work to put us in these race cars, and it's like an obscene amount of money for you have to really. It's like you want to
Right.
make them proud. You don't want to throw away the opportunity they're giving you. And at the end of the day, in racing, there's only one winner, and someone has to finish last. And even the person finishing last is paying a lot of money to be there.
So while you were racing in Formula 4, you were also kind of pursuing your studies as well, right? You're
Mm.
still doing it right now. So you're doing
Yes.
a and it's not exactly an easy degree as well. It's kind of like an engineering degree,
Yeah.
mechanical engineering, right? So how are you able to like kind of balance all that while racing in Formula 4?
Um, that's a great question because even I don't know the answer yet. Um, like
It just
I
kind of
just failed.
happened.
I just failed an exam the other week. So, I mean,
Okay.
that's just how it has to happen. This is how it works. Balancing the life is very difficult for me. I'm either sim racing when I'm at home. I'm either sim racing or I'm studying or sleeping, and I don't sleep much. And it's hard to study when my sim is right there. But it's difficult because the work is really hard, and my workload is another load of pressure on its own. And I know a lot of people who crack under this pressure of studying alone, and I also have to race alongside it, and that's a whole different world of pressure as well.
Right.
But and my degree is very tough, as you said, and it's really hard to balance my time. Um, I would be lying if I said I figured out how to balance my lifestyle. It's um it's constantly changing depending on when I'm going for race weekends. It's really hard to keep up to date with my work because it's not like other elite sports who do studies. I know that they'll travel for the sport and they'll be able to study and then go to their game, whatever they have to do, and then they'll be able to study again and then they'll go home. But for me,
That's all motorsports.
for racing, it's you get on a plane and from that moment you're not thinking about anything else except for the race now. You're just you can't even open a book and read it. You just all you're thinking about is driving, and it's a big process. You got the seat fittings, you got to do engineering meetings, track walks, um, and this all starts from the Wednesday or the Thursday before a race weekend. So I mean, my unis is like 10 weeks, it's 12 weeks long, and whenever I'm traveling for a race, it's a whole week of just purely dedicated into a race, and it's really hard to balance that work. When I come back home, I always have to catch up a lot on assignments or projects I miss. And for example, now I have a lot of group projects that I have to do for my course, and like people. It's understandable that I know if I was in a group project and someone wasn't really pulling their weight, I'd be a bit upset about that. But it's hard for them as well. To
Yeah,
have to
of
deal with
course.
me, and this is just another thing where we talk about a lot of the sacrifices that have to go into motorsport. Like, it's not just parents sacrificing; it's also like a lot of the people I know who don't get to see me as often, or I can't meet up with them, or I can't commit to my work, I can't commit to projects, I can't commit to things because of my sport. That's also sacrifice on their behalf, and it's not something I can really balance or control or manage. It's just the way it is, and I just try my best. I take it one day at a time. If I stopped worrying about so much about my grades and I'm just focusing on moving forward day by day. Trying to advance my career, trying to advance in my degree, and just trying to manage it as best as I can.
Yeah, I definitely get that. So, like, why did you kind of like choose mechanical engineering? Was it like because you wanted to get into because of your karting and racing experience, or
Yeah. So the the idea was if I can't race cars, I like to be engineering them, whether that's with a
got it?
race team or designing them in a race team or something along these lines. But yeah, it's a lot harder than it looks, isn't it?
Kind of started during your karting days, like when you're kind of doing everything on for your own kart. Now
Yeah,
transition
it's
into
a, it's
a
a, it's
full
a
on.
lot worse than that nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah, yeah.
yeah, the work is a lot. It's very hard work, and I think that's another thing with my career is compared to other drivers is maybe they're worrying about some school tests or some school projects, and I'm worrying about like a whole design project and team members, uh, hounding me to get my work in, to write reports, and it's different to a lot of things you'd hear from other drivers. But that's the way it is. That's how it is for me, and I just have to manage it as best as I can.
So coming back to Formula Four racing and things like that. So you had mentioned that you had certain spins, some tough weekends and things like that. So how did you kind of recover from those weekends? Like how did you come back? Because sometimes, like in especially in Indian F4 race two, you have a poor race, you have to bounce back in the very same day for the next race as well.
Yeah,
So how was that kind of the recovery for you?
I think in my first year it was acknowledging that I'm a rookie. I'm Mistakes happen. They're bound to happen, and it's all part of the learning process. Making mistakes is nothing to be ashamed of. It's a sign, if anything, is a sign that you're trying to push, you're trying to find the time, you're trying to get onto the pace. Um, of course, it's very difficult with crashes, and you have to think about those damage costs when you don't have sponsors, and
Right.
maybe when you're driving, it's you're only able to push it 99% because the closer you get to that 100%, then you might have an accident, but you can't really risk having an accident. I know I'm a driver who can't really risk having to push absolutely flat out where I'd risk having an accident because that's not something I can afford, my family can't afford. I don't have a sponsor backing me for that. Whereas other drivers who, have more financial backing than I do, they'll be able to absolutely push. And if they crash, it's not a big deal. Just get back in the car and go again. But for me, crashing is a big deal. But to get back onto the point, how I bounced back last year, yeah, I'd say it was just acknowledging that you know you don't have 10 years of karting experience. You haven't been testing an F4 car for the last 3 years. Spending because there's some F4 drivers out there nowadays who've done like hundreds of test days before they even step foot in a race weekend, and that's not who I was. I didn't have lots of testing. If anything, I drove an F4 car for 4 days before my first race weekend.
You're
And
kind
then
of thrown at the
some
deep end.
people, yeah, exactly.
But it's not
Um,
like you didn't manage. You managed quite well, in fact. Like in your rookie year, I believe you took your first win.
yeah, in my year, I took one rookie win, which was in the rookie class, finishing the highest of the rookies, and that came later in round four. That was also that was actually my first points finish of the season, that rookie win. So that's the other thing is acknowledging the progression you made. So actually, this year in Indian F4, when I came back, returned in round two, and I was starting on pole, and a lot of people will know that I was running in P2 or P3, and I had a moment in the grass and I lost it
Yeah.
and finished out of the points. And when I came into the pits from that race, I actually I pulled into my box and I was so upset. And I saw my mum come up to me in front of my car. The moment I looked at her, I started crying. And it was very hard because that mistake cost me what should have been my first win. I looked at the timings afterwards, and I say what should have been, but I made the mistake. It's on me. And I looked at the timings, and I did have the pace to win. And I was so disheartened that I couldn't win that race, and I was so upset because I made that one mistake. And to bounce back from that was, I mean, it was the last race of the weekend, so I'm still here now. But a really good friend told me, just look where you were last year. Last year, you were barely fighting for the points. You were having spins at every session, losing the car, losing control, crashing, a lot of mistakes, and now you're fighting for a race win. I think acknowledging that progression from where you used to be to where you are now is really the best way to bounce back from something from adversity, because I remember, like, after that race I was so upset and I just needed to be reminded that, look, last year you were nowhere and now you're fighting for a race win. So now you're fighting for race wins. You can win, and just next time you won't make that mistake. So just acknowledging the progression is the best way for me to bounce back and move forward.
So now you're just coming out of round two from the Indian F4 Championship, right? So we just finished round two in Chennai. So what now for you? Are you going to come back to Indian F4 when it comes again Coimbatore? I think the end of this month or October first weekend, or are you planning something else in mind? Or
So I don't think I'm coming for round three, unfortunately.
okay,
Um, we have budget issues, and I had some damage to pay from previous rounds. So perhaps not round three. Maybe we'll see. Last minute, something may come up for me to come back for round three. As of right now, I don't really have any plans to come back for round three. Potentially round four and five. It depends on the venue. If they are indeed street races, then I would attend. I would love to attend if I can make it. Of course, the biggest problem in motorsport is always the funding. It's coming up with the budget to go racing is extremely hard, and it's all dependent on this. Um, but future plans, potentially, I'm also looking into racing in Japan, um, potentially in F4 SEA in Malaysia.
Since you speaking of Indian F4, so they just announced that they'll be coming, having another street race this season with Goa. They recently announced it. So is that
Yep.
something that you're looking to come back to, or I think it's for
I
round
think,
four, which is be end of the beginning of November.
yeah, I think it's always nice to do a street race. I think street races are a great experience. After last year, I'd love to do another street race. It's definitely something I'm considering to come back for.
Okay.
But yeah, it depends on the budget, how things go. If we're able to come up with a sponsor before then, or if we're able to find the funding for it, it might be difficult. But um, yeah, I would like to come back for the street race. I think it's going to be a very interesting weekend.
So building on that, so how difficult is it to kind of look for a sponsor when you're racing in Formula 4?
Uh, it's
Like in
extremely
Formula 3,
difficult.
Formula 2, you have all these Ferrari driver academies, McLaren and Red Bull, so
Mm,
and more. But in F4, that's not always the case, especially when you're racing Indian F4, which is
yeah,
not as well known as British F4 and things like that.
it's unbelievably hard. Um, I've been looking for more than a year now, and sometimes we got close, but it's a very big ask to be asking companies for hundreds of thousands of euros. It's extremely difficult.
So for an approximately for an F1 season, for a full Formula 4 season, like how much does it cost? Approximately, I think you said 100K.
For Indian F4, or just in general?
Just in general.
In general, like championships in Europe, looking at around 250 to 300,000 euros
Okay.
for any European championship as minimum cost. So it's very difficult to come up with this funding. Many drivers are just funded by their parents. Um, there's some drivers funded by driver academies as well. Um, but even some driver academies only cover a portion, and you have to find the rest yourself. So yeah, coming up with the sponsors is for any form of racing, from karting all the way up to F2, is extremely difficult. But especially for drivers like me who don't have extensive like pedigree behind them, it's hard to find those sponsorships. Especially even moving from karting to F4 is like, if you want a sponsorship, you'd be looking at like World Karting Championships, and World Karting Championships cost hundreds of thousands of euros anyway. So it's like you need to spend a lot of money to get to that level.
Right.
And in F4, it's a lot of the talent is more about seat time, and you'd find a lot of the drivers who are fighting at the top in Europe and across the world. They're doing extensive private testing in F4 cars throughout the year.
So these private testings you have to pay separately, or is it included in the week, like season cost, or is it something like that? Or
It'll be like a private thing. So
okay,
you'd have you'd go with a team to the track, and you'd pay for the day to test the car,
okay.
and you'd have some drivers doing many, sometimes some drivers even into the hundreds of test days before they even make their F4 debut. And competing with that is so
Very
difficult.
difficult.
It's you turn onto a race weekend, and there's just nothing you can do, really. It's it's just
I mean, yeah, it's
yeah,
motorsport is always competitive, and it's not like you have
yeah,
multiple winners. It's just the one winner in every
yeah. It's just the
race.
one guy, and then obviously, you know the winners, you always want to win, and to get sponsorships is you need to be winning. You need to be
Right.
showing results,
Results.
and you need to show results. You need a test. As a test, you need money. For money, you need sponsorships. So it's like a cycle of funding that's just really hard to find initially, and That's something I'm struggling with. I know I have some friends who are also really struggling on that side of things, and these are really talented drivers, guys who deserve to be racing. And it's for all of us. It's hard to move forward, even to just go back into F4. Um, I wanted to go to Europe this year, but it was just out of the question when it came to the cost. So that's why we came back to India. And even then, now round three is something I likely won't participate in because just the coming up with the funding is just extremely difficult.
Right. So now let's come into some another topic now. So let's come into how I actually got in touch with you. So that's actually a fun story, isn't it? So I was, so it was in Chennai, and it was during the Formula 4 weekend, race weekend, and so I was there as media, and I was standing next to the pit wall waiting for the race three, was it? Yeah, race three to start on Sunday, and suddenly from behind me, someone's coming running full speed towards me because I was standing closest to the grid, and they came running towards me, and they asked me to just move aside, politely asked me to move aside. And she was like, "My son is racing, and my son is racing. So can I please take a video from you?" And that happened to be your mom. I mean, she was so sweet. So I was like, "You take how much of time you want. This place is now yours. I'll just take the video from there. It's fine, no problem. Stay here how much longer you want."
She owns the track. We're just there driving on
Yeah.
it.
So you stood there, took the video, and then race three got over, and you finished sixth, which meant starting on pole on race four. So race four, I was starting in the same exact spot, which is where I always stand for all race starts. And again, she came running me, running, and I was like, "Please come here." This time she didn't reach out to me. I called her. I was like, "I reserved this spot only for you. This is now your spot. I know you're starting on pole. Take the video." So yeah, that's kind of like how I got in touch with you. So building on that, so I know. So you had mentioned that your parents weren't into motorsports, and your family's not a motorsport family. So how difficult was it to like kind of convince them to get you into this kind of field and build on that?
Oh,
Was that something they
I
were?
I at the very beginning, I had to argue with my mum for 1 year to get a go kart. And my mum is a nurse, so she used to work in when I was younger. She used to work in like the ICU as a nurse, and she would see all these like horrific accidents, car accidents, and all these
I mean,
horrible
I
things.
think any motorsport parent will be concerned about that aspect
Yeah,
only.
yeah.
For example, so even when I was young, so I was actually really good in karting. My parents had taken me to the track a few times. I was really good in karting, but I think when I was 10 or 12 years old, I drove a bit aggressive and kind of like overtook people and things like that. And then after that, my parents got scared and they didn't say a word. They didn't say a word about it, but they just never took me to the track again. So I got cut
I
off from that point.
My mum tried to convince me to do other things or to follow football more. It didn't really work out. But nowadays, she's the one telling me to take risks and push more, go faster, overtake him, push him off.
I mean, now she's seen you perform. She knows you have what it takes to win.
Yeah, I think that's a universal mum thing. Would just be, worrying
Concern.
about us. They, yeah, it's just you know like she always used to tells me, like, I remember last year when I was making my debut and I spun and I got beached in the grass or the gravel or I was in the wall or something and there'd be a red flag. She'd be standing there and she'd see one car come past, another car come past, and she'd see all the cars come past and I wouldn't come past. And that feeling of like
You see, okay.
that dread she would get where, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god, where's my son? It's I can't imagine. I'm sure it's extremely scary, like, because we're doing something that's
True.
for crazy. It's crazy what we do, and we do it willingly. and it's very dangerous. And there have been many incidents where major horrible things can happen in racing. And yeah, convincing her in the first time was certainly something to behold.
So were you guys following Formula One or any motorsport before that, or were they
Yeah, we
just
were
they were into it
following.
because of you?
My mum doesn't really follow, to be honest.
Okay.
She would come to the races and watch the cars go past. Ooh, that's very fast. I think my dad knew more what's going on, but even it's just usually my mum comes with me to the races because my dad is working really hard. So my mum is just mostly there, just supporting me emotionally and keeping everything organized for me. And it's I love having my family there with me. I wish all my family could come. I have a
True.
sister
It gives
who
you that bit
came with
of
me last year.
motivation as well.
Yeah, I have a sister who also, older sister, who also was calling this year. She's calling me after every single race. She's like, "Where is he? Get him on the phone. I want to talk to him." And she's watching all the races live on TV. And I have a lot of friends and close family friends here who are also doing the same. And yeah, it's nice having that family support.
Coming to your long-term ambitions in racing, so what is your goal? Like, do you want to be a Formula One driver, endurance driver?
I think everyone wants to be a Formula One driver. I think I know I'm on the older side of drivers. A lot of my competition is a lot younger, but ultimately I have to aim as high as I can go, and that's at Formula One. I remember when I was 15, 16, you're crazy, you're too old, and then I made it to F4. So I think I decided not to listen to the mainstream a long time ago for what to do and what not to do. So
I
I'm
think
not
that's
going
a
to let
good
people.
advice.
I'm not going to let people tell me, "Oh, you're too old now."
Right.
The ship has sailed. I don't care. Like I couldn't care less. It's my life. I'll try and make it where I want to, and if I don't make it, then I know that I didn't hold back in anything. Even from this day forward, if I never find the funding, if I never step foot in a race car again, I will know that I didn't go to F4 just for fun. I didn't go F4 just to be mediocre. I went to achieve my dream, my childhood dream of being an F1 driver. And this photo here is from a Ferrari early 2000s Ferrari, and this little me sitting in the driver's seat right there. So
Can you
I'm
show
doing
that
it for
photo?
him.
Is that
Yeah,
you?
yeah, it is. I'll, it's me, and this is my sister, and this is me.
Schumacher's car as
So
well.
yep.
So you're a
So
Ferrari fan.
ah, always, forever.
How's that going for you?
I don't want to talk about it.
This is a question I asked every single Ferrari fan I know, and it's the same answer I get from every Ferrari fan I know.
Next year is our year, yeah.
I'm sure. So you're hoping Ferrari gets second in the championship this year?
Well, I'm hoping they get first and McLaren gets disqualified
I
for
mean,
something illegal.
flashback to 2007, was it? Yeah, 2007.
Nah, I think Ferrari will be able to comfortably secure second place. Um, I'm just hoping that get a few race wins at least. Um, to be honest, I don't really have any expectations anymore. It's too far gone now. I've been waiting for God knows how many years for like happiness, and I just haven't had it. So I was hoping Hamilton could come and do something special this year, and not even Hamilton can undo the
I mean,
Ferrari
you never know.
curse.
Next year
So
they could come back. Next year's a new regulation, so
uh,
you never know.
next, yeah, next year is our year, right?
Yeah, next year. Next year's Ferrari's year.
Next year is
But
our
this
year
year,
for sure.
like kind of like the drivers' championship, Piastri, Norris, who you kind of,
Piastri has to be.
I mean, You're from Melbourne, right?
Yeah, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
No, I think Piastri's. I think he just has a small edge when it comes to his composure, and I think, well, after Zandvoort and Norris's disappointment with his engine failure, I think that wrapped it up. To be honest, I don't think. I think for so many races the gap has been so small, and now the gap has just gotten bigger. I don't really see how Norris can claw that deficit when it's so evenly matched now. I think right before it was too close, and now it's going to stay really close in race results, but the gap has just gone too big now. I don't see any way for Norris back. So good for Piastri, good for Australians to have an Australian world champion after how long would be amazing.
Who was the last Australian champion? I think it was.
Oh, Brabham?
Yeah, I think it was Jack Brabham.
Well, there was one, Alan Jones.
Right.
Alan Jones, yeah.
Yeah, Alan Jones in 1980.
Got that elite F1 knowledge.
Yeah, Alan Jones. So it's been more than what? Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years.
So
45
Piastri is
years.
going to be the first Australian F1 champion in 40 years. Hopefully.
Hopefully. It'd be nice to see.
But yeah, I'm also a Piastri fan. So I have like friends on the fastest pit stop team, like who are both. So there's one person who was both Norris and Hamilton fan, and I felt so sad for them during the Dutch
Oh.
Grand after the Dutch Grand Prix.
Imagine being just a Norris and Ferrari fan. Oh my god.
My
I
friend was
was
just lying
I was
down on the
watching.
floor the entire time.
I was watching it. And I was like, when Hamilton was gone, I was like, oh my god. And then when accidentally took Leclerc out, I was like, oh my god. That's just the most Ferrari thing. You just can't escape. But that overtake on Russell was incredible. I loved that.
That's true. That's
That
true,
was
no doubt.
proper.
Yeah, all that for a DNF.
It was entertaining enough.
So Zach, you actually have like quite an interesting background behind you. Like you showed us the
Yep.
photo, obviously, and then you have the trophy, and then I believe you
Yep.
have something more interesting to show us.
Yeah. So this is my simulator,
Uh huh.
and up there on the wall, I have my broken front wing from last year, just hanging above my simulator. I broke it. I had to pay for it, so I just kept it. It's a nice wall piece. So
Might as
yeah,
well. You're paying for it. Might as well take it home. But my
yeah,
question is, how did you
exactly.
get it from India to Australia? Like, didn't they ask you something in customs or airport
Okay,
security,
so
maybe?
to to actually like travel with it, I just the airport, like the wrapping service got it wrapped. Even the workers in the airport were like, "What the hell is this? How are we gonna wrap this?" I was like, "Just figure it out, bro." I don't know. So they wrapped it in the cling wrap, and it's carbon fiber. So I just chucked it in on the check-in, and it survived. The biggest thing was Australian customs is very strict,
Huh.
very very strict. Um, you're not allowed to bring in goods over $900, and if you do, you have to declare it and then like pay tax on that or something. I don't
I
know.
mean, does this have an official price tag, or
It's a lot more than $900.
that is obvious? That is obvious,
So
but like, is it
when we
like
were
mentioned
coming in,
somewhere, or is it like just like,
it's not mentioned anywhere, but they
huh?
were obviously like when we were walking out of going through the customs, they were like, "What the hell is this?" And we were like, it's a car part." And they were like, because car parts are like something that's like importable and like you might have to pay tax on it. So they were like, "Oh, what's it worth?" And I was like, "It's broken, so nothing."
Play it safe.
I mean, it's true. It's true. That's the only reason I got to keep it, because it was worth nothing anymore. Because the whole wing is cracked and the whole a big hole in the nose, so it's worthless now. I had to
Just play
pay
it
for
safe.
new ones.
It's not worth anything.
So, and I mean, the guy probably didn't even know what I was talking about, so I just I just got to bring it home and
So you don't
And
have
it's
to pay any
cold.
additional taxes on it?
Nah. I'm not paying
Okay.
tax on that.
On a broken front wing.
Yeah, so just they called someone, just told them I want to put the front wing on the wall, and I was like, yep, right. And then put my sim in, and now we have this amazing setup where I got my sim, and then
Yeah, that setup
that
is damn good.
above, and
So do you
yeah,
do sim racing? Do you
lovely.
stream or something?
Maybe I should start streaming.
Yeah,
I
maybe
like
you
to,
can.
but I do a lot of sim racing on iRacing and some other games, but and maybe I will start streaming once I set it all up. That'll be a fun new adventure for me.
Maybe have the front wing behind you so that people can see it on the camera.
Yeah. Be known for having like a really cool setup.
So yeah, Zach, I've loved having you on the podcast. I hope you've had a
Thank
lot of
you for
fun
having
here.
me. I
And
did.
yeah,
Thank you.
I good luck on the rest of your F4 career.
Thank
I
you.
hope you come back to India so we can meet in person after the race, not before the race. I'll leave
Hopefully.
you alone
Yeah.
before the race. I'll leave you alone before the race, not to worry. All right. So I hope I see you again. And yeah, all the best.